Today, integrated topic students, for today's class, they're going to need a pencil, the white packet, which I'm going to use for an activity, calculators if you so desire, homework ready to be collected. We're doing that right from the beginning, and the classwork from last class. So the reason why I want to take a look at the classwork from last class, as I mentioned, I was going to look at the most missed or the most questioned problems that was on that paper. And if I'm not mistaken, the paper was entitled The Linear Combination Method at the very top. Had a total of 7 questions. 4 of it was like naked math, just with the numbers and the variables. And 3 of them dealt with word problems. So I'm going to look at a couple of the AKA naked math problems, and I'm going to look at number 7 off of that sheet. So for number 1, we had 6x minus y equals 10, 3x minus y equals 1. So first things first, you gotta look to see if your x and y's are lined up. In this case, they are. They're lined up vertically. Then which one has the same number? So remember, going back to my magical pen. So we have our y's. Our y's have the same number, which has a 1 in front of it. And the symbols that they have, or the signs that they have, are both negative. So we have same number, same sign. So we should be doing what? Subtracting. Still, I have people doing addition. But if you find that method, and you guys keep fighting me on this, if it is supposed to be subtraction, put your symbol down and circle it. Use that as a guide. Stop fighting me on it, okay? Trust me, it's going to help you because it'll train your eye to go to that. So now I have 6x minus 3x. That gives me a 3x. And 3x equals, because my y's are going to cancel out, 10 minus 1, which gives me a 9. So a 3x equals 9. That means x equals 3. We're going to take that 3 and we're going to substitute it for x in one of those equations. So let's try the first one. Why not? So if we have 6, parenthesis, 3, minus y equals 10. So we have 6 times 3, which gives me my 18, minus y equals 10. So I'm going to subtract 18 on both sides. This was another thing that people did. In order for these to cancel out, one has to be positive and the other one has to be negative. So when one's positive and one's negative, then we can basically bring the symbols down. So we have minus y equals a negative 8. So you have a negative y equals negative 8. That means y equals a positive 8. I don't want to know what negative y equals. I want to know what y equals. So therefore, my point of intersection will be 3, 8. The next one was actually number 2. So again, we want to look at our x and our y's. So looking at my x's, okay, my x's are lined up, but they have different numbers. So let's take a look at our y's. My y's are lined up. They have the same number. They both have 4. So now let's take a look at their signs. Are they the same or different? Their signs are different. So if we have the same number but different signs, that means I should be adding. Okay? Please refer to your notes just in case when you do your homework assignments. So if I'm adding, I have 5x plus 3x. That gives me an 8x. My y's are going to cancel out, give me 0. Then I have 14 plus 2, which gives you my 16. Okay? That's why I want to put that plus sign there to use as a reminder. So if 8x equals 16, that means x equals 2. Then we're going to take that 2 and we're going to substitute it in for x. I'm going to use that second equation. So when I rewrite it, I have 3. I'm going to put my positive 2 there, plus 4y equals 2. So 3 times 2, that gives me 6, plus 4y equals 2. subtract the 6 on both sides. So I have 4y equals a negative 4. So if 4y equals a negative 4, that means y equals a negative 1. So my point of intersection is 2 comma negative 1, not negative 1 comma 2. Remember, it's your x, then it's your y's. Okay? So hopefully by looking at this and making that adjustment is going to help you out a little bit later. So as promised, I want to look at number 7. You're probably saying, whoa, there's a lot of words on the screen. But anyway, you can follow along off the paper that you also can download on the website. And we have the promoters of the concert sells 2 different types of seating, covered and lawn. Covered tickets cost $15 each, while lawn tickets cost $8 each. Research from past concerts indicate that cover seat ticket holders will spend an average of $15 on food and drink, while lawn ticket seat holders will spend an average of $4 on food and drink. At the end of the show, a power surge blew out the computer that kept track of sales. There was $5,400 in ticket sales and $4,200 in food and drink sales. So what we're looking for, how many cover seat tickets were sold and how many lawn tickets were sold. So right then and there, first things first, tell me what my variables are. What are they going to represent? So most people will say X and Y. Okay. So X is going to represent my covered seats, and Y will represent my lawn seats. Okay? So always before you get started, what am I looking for? And most of the time that answer is in this last sentence of the problem, or if it's broke down like we have here in section A and section B. That will help you to figure out what are you looking for? What is my variables? So once you have representation for your variables, let's go back to the situation here. So we have 2 equations that we have to pull out of here. And the best way to look for it is what these 2 equations are going to equal. So one equation is basically going to deal with the ticket sales. And one equation is going to deal with, oops, went away, with the food and drink sales. Okay? So pulling information out of here. So we have cover seats are going to cost $15. So that's what's jumping at me. And lawn seats are going to cost $8 each. Okay? So that's just dealing with the ticket sales. And the ticket sales total was this $5,400. Okay? So the next part is dealing with the food and drink. So again, the cover seat ticket holders had an average of $15 on the food and drink, while the lawn seat ticket holders spent an average of $4 on food and drink. And that total amount that they got before the power surge was $4,200. So in a way, I'm kind of helping you see it visually by using 2 different color highlighters. So what's in yellow is dealing just with the ticket sales. And then what's in green is dealing just with the food and drink sales. So since we have those 2 things, we can set up our 2 equations. So the first equation, let's say we'll deal with the ticket sales. So we have $15 is what the cost for the cover. Then we had $8 what dealt with the lawn. And they had a total of ticket sales of $5,400. The other one's going to deal with food and drink. So remember, the average for the cover seats was 15, so that'd be 15x. And for the lawn was 4. And they got a total of $4,200. So how are we going to solve this system? Hopefully you said by subtraction. The reason being, you have the same number for the x's, which is 15. They're both positive. So I'm going ahead and subtract them. So when I subtract them, my x's cancel out. 8 minus 4 will give me 4y equals 5,400 minus 4,200 will give me 1,200. And if 4y equals 1,200, that means y is going to equal 300 because I had to divide both sides by 4. So now I have an answer of y equals 300. What does that mean? Y is representing what? My lawn seats. So that means 300 lawn seat tickets were sold. Because if it was $15 a ticket, we used that food and drink to help us figure out what's going on. So we were able to use something to eliminate to figure out how many of those lawn seats we had. So now we got our lawn seats. It's 300 of them. So now we got to figure out our cover seats. How is that going to happen? So we're going to have to take one of these two equations. Let's say the first one. So you have your 15x plus 8 times this 300. And it's going to equal the 5,400. So the 300 came from my y equals 300. So now we're going to solve. So order of operations states that I need to do multiplication. There's nothing inside the parentheses except for this 300. So there's nothing happening inside there. We don't have any exponents, so boom, we don't have to worry about that. So now we got multiplication. So 8 times 300 gives me 2,400. Then I have to subtract the 2,400 because I'm trying to get my x by itself. So they cancel out, which gives me 15x equals 3,000. So if 15x equals 3,000, that means x equals 200. The reason why I got that is because I had to divide both sides by the 15 in order for me to get x by itself. So what does x equals 200 mean? It means that they sold 200 of those covered seats. So for a total of 500 tickets being sold, we had 300 that was lawn seats and 200 that was cover seats. Okay? So when it comes to word problems, if you break it down step by step, highlight what's jumping at you. Underline, box, something. Okay? It'll make it a lot easier. Okay? Try to pull information out so you're able to set up your two equations. Okay? I feel that once you're able to set up your two equations, you're ready to rock and roll. You have no problems. You'll be able to do this. Okay? So for the conclusion of class, what we did was did an activity, practiced up a little bit more on word problems, because that's one of the things I kept seeing while they were working on their drill and working on a couple of problems. I collected their homework, took a look, and it seemed like a lot of people had problems with the word problems, or they were fearful and did not do the word problems. So as a result, we had an activity where students paired up in groups of 4, and they actually were given 2 word problems to work, either in the whole entire group of 4, or they can pair up within that group of 4. Once they did that word problem, they switched up with the other group, And then I just rotated problems as they kept going. So they did this about 6 times. Some classes did it about 4. Okay? So after the activities, again, they had their homework assignments. I know I keep messing with your eyes, right? So we were basically putting a lot of this stuff together. Some had to do substitution, some had to do elimination. And they had to kind of train their eye and train their brain not to forget all about substitution, which was the best way to do it. Okay, so we really worked on the word problems. And at the end, they were given a yellow sheet, which this is their homework. I highlight yellow so everybody recognizes it. So it says solving system of linear equations using linear combinations. So this was the homework for February 7th and 8th. Okay, they had to do all 8 problems. So again, there were 6 of the naked math and there was 2 word problems. Okay, upon the grading of this, based on the number of people that came for assistance with it, I basically graded 4 problems. I'm not going to tell you which 4. Okay, so that means you have to do all 8. So I was looking at only 4 of the problems. Obviously, I'm looking at 1 of the 2 word problems, but I'm not going to tell you which one of the 6 that I was getting. I know, I got to keep some secrets from you. Okay, so make sure you do all 8 of those. Most of them were due on the 9th and the 10th, so we're making sure that we get everything done. As you know, I'm available. Feel like I'm constantly promoting myself. Wildcat Hour, first lunch. I'm starting to see more and more people, which is nice. But at the same time, if you don't understand something, don't keep that anger within yourself. Come and let me assist you. Let me break this stuff down to you. If you're not understanding it in class and you can't come during Wildcat Hour, that means you need to ask more questions in class. Okay? So, you have your homework, you have your notes, and I think everything's good. So